Welcome to Walk in the Park. My name is Tony Ingram, your host. And this week, let's see, we are episode 74, recorded on April 30th, 2014. If you want to see all of my episodes, go to my vid blog at walkinpark.com. There'll be a lot of resources there, particularly for this show. And this particular show is going to be about Lyme disease, its prevention and care. Part 1. We're going to go 2 or 3 episodes on this very important and very timely subject. So, all right, so Lyme disease, what is it? If you go around the state parks now, you will see this poster that's been distributed by the New York State Department of Health about Lyme disease, very basic stuff. Here's the female deer tick, which is the primary transmitter of Lyme disease to humans. And then here's a picture of various stages of the deer tick, the adult male, female and male, and the nymph and the larva. And especially in the spring, this time of year, the nymphs and the larvae are out. The larvae come out first, and they metamorphose to nymphs, and then they turn into the adults later in the season. But it's a more complicated cycle that overlaps a bit. So there's all these stages can be out at the same time. So, and they have a very simple, basic thing of what to do about Lyme disease. Consider using insect repellents, follow label directions. There's only certain ones that actually work with ticks, as opposed to your mosquito types. Walk in the center of trails, avoid high grass and brush, because especially the adult ticks tend to hang out on that. And check for ticks daily on yourself and your children and your pets. Carefully remove attached ticks. Fine point tweezers work best. There's going to be a lot more about this sort of thing in the show. Shower soon after being outdoors. Well, we're going to go to Green Star Cooperative Market last week, where Becca Harbor, who is a educator and herbalist and so forth, and she'll introduce herself, did a class for about an hour and a half in Ithaca, talking about all aspects of this, and so this is what we're going to be mainly looking at today. There are some handouts that she provided for us. Those are all going to be on our website at walkinpark.com, where you can find this show online. So you can download these. So we're going to get right to it here. Go to Becca Harbor at Green Star Market last week.
Okay, so my name's Becca Harbor, and for over 10 years I taught classes about holistic health, how to take care of yourself, herbal medicine, wild edible foods, and I've been teaching for almost 10 years nonviolent communication, and still do. So this is my first class ever teaching about Lyme disease, having had Lyme twice here, but so far I don't seem to have chronic Lyme. And I've just been slowly learning in spurts, and just feel like the information needs to get shared, and I just felt like, well, I'll start sharing it and we'll see where it goes, because nobody else has started to do it. So I've put together, you're going to get more handouts, and there are many, many more sources, some of which, many of which I've never seen, but I've seen other sources. I haven't kept track of all of them. But one interesting website is an herbalist named, Andrea, A-N-D-R-E-A, Candee, C-A-N-D-E-E, and she's somewhere, I think, near New York City. But if you just look her name up on the internet, you'll get her website right away. And I just looked at it again, and she uses vibrational medicine remedies, little droplets of I'm not sure what, but they're natural. And she's asserting she's been helping people with chronic Lyme have had their symptoms absolutely turn around. Andrea Candee. I made a list of some of the healthcare providers locally and a few farther away that either I've gone to or people I know have gone to. So there's going to be people that, like some of you in the Lyme support group have gone to that aren't on the list probably. None of this is meant to be all-inclusive, because I can't do that. I wouldn't even try right now. But I wanted to mention, I'm doing this in order or I will forget, that on the Ithaca area section, The second line, Will Feudemann. The thing I didn't mention on here is that he is dispensing a set of Chinese medicine formulas that are supposed to help people with Lyme disease get better, and including anti-spirochetal actions. And I actually started to take them. I had Lyme last summer for the second time, and was just very, very tired, very strange feeling filling my head, brain fog, stuff like that. And I want to encourage you, if you start to get symptoms or you know you have Lyme, this is what I haven't done so far, and it's important. I need to start doing it too, and that is to keep a log. Write down what symptoms you have. If they're every day, just make a little shorthand for that, or when they're not, make a note of that. If you have something strange sporadically, make a note of that, and then put down what you're taking or what you're doing. So for me, my failure was I wasn't doing that, and I was taking a whole bunch of herbs which Stephen Buhner recommends in healing Lyme. I've been doing those for many weeks after also doing antibiotics, doxycycline, and so I heard about Will doing these herbs. Having these herbs. So I thought, I want to try that. And so I didn't write down the dates of when I started, but it was somewhere, it seemed, right around the beginning of taking the formula that my symptoms just almost completely cleared up, almost overnight. And I don't know if it was a cumulative effect, because I'd been taking all these other herbs. The antibiotics I hadn't taken for weeks, and I hadn't noticed any change from 6 weeks of doxycycline twice a day. So, unfortunately, I can't say anything conclusive. I'm really concentrating on, to make it less likely that you get bitten, you get sick, talk about some of the things that are helpful. So you may want more detail on some things than I'm going to give, but the idea is that reason I made all these handouts is so you can go and look into stuff, because there is overwhelming amount of information on the internet. A lot of I haven't even seen it, but I've read little bits, and I'm like, some of it's very intriguing and interesting. So I am just here to get you started, because my view is that if you're staying in an area with Lyme disease, which is epidemic like here, then if I want to stay healthy, I need to just keep learning. I need to protect myself as much as possible, just keep educating myself. I don't really think there's a good alternative to that, because there's not a whole lot of healthcare practitioners out there. Well, no, they can't do it for you anyway, but there's certainly not hardly any health practitioners out there who know much about this at all, in terms of getting help locally. But so I want to mention about the free clinic that even if you have health insurance, you can see the herbalist, who is Seven Song, okay? You can make use of the other people who have other practices. You can't go to the MDs and nurses, but you can go to the social worker, or you can go to the acupuncturist. So the free clinic is a great resource. And if you don't have insurance, you can see nurses and doctors, okay? I also wanted to give you the email address for the local Lyme disease support group.
Okay, it's Walker's Raven, all one word, at yahoo.com.
Good.
And the phone number is 387-5790.
Oh, great. Yeah, you're great. Oh. And this is Deanna, who's actually the first name on the list. Really about the first naturopathic doctor that I know who came to Ithaca. And I've gone to her, and a friend that's gone to her.
Email address again.
So, and Deanna is like the only healthcare provider that, well, I can't speak for acupuncturists, but, who's been going to some trainings for doctors about how to deal with Lyme disease and becoming, more of a Lyme disease doctor in that process. So,
I'm an ILADS doctor.
ILADS, so yeah, that's on the list.
Are you on the list?
I am.
She's on the list. So
the first one, Deanna Berman.
Okay, so I want to go over, I sort of started out at the bottom of your news sheet, it says incorrect information. Some of you might know that, but I wanted to say common things that people are told by some of the mainstream medical system or government system that aren't true, or you heard it or you read it somewhere. And I'm not going to go over everything, but basically I do want to, I will go over this just briefly, some of it not briefly. One is the myth that if you have it, you're going to get a bullseye rash. Well, at least half people never get any rash, okay? And you might get a rash, but it might be ages after you got bitten. It may be in a completely different part of your body. It may not look like a bullseye. So there's not some, I mean, it would be great if we all got a bullseye rash if we, you know, after we got bitten. But the other thing, this happened to a friend of mine. I had read in my first Lyme disease book, Beating Lyme, that the whole thing about taking, like, sometimes people go to the doctor, they've been bitten by a tick, and they're given 1 or 2 doses of antibiotic. And I had read in the book that you can't count on that. And so I told my friend, and then she got bitten by a tick. She went to wherever it was, convenient care or wherever it was. She got maybe 1 dose, and she told me about it. I said, that's not necessarily going to do it. And a week later, she had a bullseye, and she started being really tired. So that's just important to know. You know, you could still do it, but don't count on it, okay? Dr. Burrascano, do you want to sit here, Deanna?
Sure, I'll sit.
Okay. Get a chair here. Dr. Burrascano's treated zillions of people. He's not practicing anymore. He didn't want to start getting harassed by the medical system, among other things, from what I read. But and he's got like 37 or so pages online that anybody can look at, which are his treatment guidelines for Lyme.
Actually, if you go to iLads, it's on the iLads site.
Well, it's also easy to find.
Yeah,
I just did a search. I said it isn't. That's why.
I'm going to write it.
Yeah. So, and he, you know, he basically says, and this was 2008, you got to do it at least a month. Dr. Stram, who spoke at the Lyme panel that Deanna spoke at, he has a center that includes treating a lot of people with Lyme, and he said, you know, at least 6 weeks. And that's why I did it for 6 weeks the second time. The first time I did it for a month, which was 2 years, you know, like 2011.
But at 300 milligrams a day.
Well, back then, I didn't know any of this. You know, all I knew was that, you know, I needed like a month minimum, and I didn't know anything about milligrams. So I was taking it twice a day. And that's what everybody I've known in Ithaca pretty much gets given, is the prescription for that much. Well, according to Burrascano, I mean, I haven't seen an updated version, but he's saying 100 milligrams. He's saying that you have to take higher amounts because you have to keep the antibiotic amount high enough to really have, you know, effect on the spirochetes. And so he says like 200 milligrams twice a day with food. And Dr. Stram at the panel was saying 100 3 times a day. Burrascano, you know, I don't know all this, but Burrascano is saying, you know, but 200 is hard for a lot of people to tolerate. That's the thing. These things are so strong that when you take, you know, big enough doses, you can have, like my friend, he was bleeding out of his genitals. And it turned out that was a side effect. He was taking 200 twice a day. And finally, they figured that out. When he stopped, he just stopped the antibiotics, and then the blood stopped. So, yeah, Mark?
Just as long as you talk about doxy, one of the other side
that was
effects
doxy.
is sun sensitivity.
Yeah.
And some people, and if you take it long enough, it can become a permanent sun sensitivity. I understand. So.
Well, I had super sensitivity
you were, okay.
the first time because I was on a camping trip. Anyway, I used sunscreen, which ordinarily wouldn't. My hat, I had to wear gloves hiking.
Me too.
Because my fingers were burning otherwise. So it was pretty interesting. That a lot of people think, oh well, if I take my clothes off after I go out and I throw them in the wash and they throw them in the dryer, you know, if there are ticks on them, they'll be gone. And I found an article where they actually did, you know, research, and they found that after like 2 different soaps in the wash machine, you know, 24 hours later, 65% of the ticks were still alive.
Oh.
And that it took an hour of being in the dryer at the highest heat to kill them. So you can't just do an ordinary thing. So it's just good to know, because there are all these, you know, all these nice sounding things, but it's not that simple. Just like the whole thing, there are all these people this winter said, oh, you know, it's so cold, you know, we're not gonna, you know, there won't be hardly any ticks compared to usual. And you know, the ticks just go dormant, and as soon as they warm up enough, you know, they're crawling around looking for a blood meal. So
They don't even go dormant. They're actually living on the mice, and the mice burrow down, so the mice are warm, and the mice holes are warm, so they live on the mice.
and I think some of them are like they're adults that winter over, and they could be like my personal guess is that if I sit on a frozen log long enough and I melt where my butt is and there's a tick there, they'll start moving around. I mean, they're really flexible, just like the spirochetes, you know. Some things I didn't put on the list. It really helps if you don't have short hair is to get it under your hat so that it's not going to catch on a branch and stuff, because a tick could be anywhere. You know, birds carry them. Oh, they could be in any direction. I think it's really important to wear a hat so that when you touch things, you know, and then you can, we'll talk later, you can treat your hat with permethrin, so ticks will supposedly not want to get on your hat. And you just be aware that, according to what I've read, like pretty much all the small mammals can carry them, and the larger mammals, and the tiny ones tend to carry more of the larvae, and then you have, they can carry the nymphs, which are the really teeny ones, but the larvae are really teeny, and then the adults, which are the ones that are easier to see. Last summer, I think I was already sick, and I went to take some plants. I just, you know, took the tray off the wooden box outside and put them down. I didn't touch anything on the ground or vegetation or anything. And I looked at my arm, and there was a speck that was moving down my arm, and I was like, what is that? And this is good because I forgot to take it out, is my tick kit. Always have it on me. You know, you never know. I found a tick in me when I was driving to town once. Well, what am I going to do? I need to get it out. And that's an important thing I didn't even put on here. Important to become independent, educated and independent, where you're going to know what a deer tick looks like. There is no reason, if you can do that, for anyone to have to go to convenient care to find out what kind of tick it is. I mean, deer ticks are pretty obvious because they always have black on them. And everything I've ever seen or read, or I've pulled many ticks off of myself and my friend who lives in the same house. I might as well just show you these tools. This is one a friend bought for me that is a special kind of tweezers. I can't figure out how to get this out again. And it's shaped differently. And I got it later last year, and I found there was a nymph, I forget on whom, and I could get right at the base of that tiny little nymph and pull it straight up, whereas the one that I've used almost the whole time, which is the tick puller, my funky bag which is falling apart.
Where do you get ones like the one you just showed us?
Well, this one I might have the packaging, which would be very handy because my friend got it online. Oh, here it is. Yeah, here you go. Tick removal kit. Okay. It probably has a website on there. Okay, that is the tweezers. I think they're maybe $10 or something. You get a little, you know, you get a little card that has pictures of ticks, and it's pretty much the main thing. The one I've been using is sort of like, it's this thin metal with a little slit at the end, and it's like a pry bar. I was saying to my friend today at home, I was like, well, it would be great if somebody came in with a tick in and we could demonstrate how to take it out.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
pretend, thank goodness. So let's say there's a tick there, I would put the metal against my skin and slide it so the tick goes all the way up the slot to the end. And then I would just gradually and just go up, like the way you pull up a nail with a hammer.
Oh, okay.
And the thing about this is that the nymphs slide through a lot of the time. So a lot of the time when you get a nymph, we're like trying like a dozen times to get this little teeny weeny black thing. We've gotten them out every time, but sometimes it takes a long time. But this tick tweezer, I mean, I've only used it once, but it worked for the nymph beautifully. And this one, you know, this is the other thing. Really get a magnifier. This one, you know, they don't make them to last, I'll tell you. This had a light. It stopped working. But it's a 10 power, and it really helps you can really see what you've got. Because once I thought I had a tick and it was really just a little scab. And actually sent it in to get tested. That was when you could get a free test through the health department.
Well, so far this year there were only 2 ticks. The last I heard, 2 ticks at the lab, and both of them were positive for Lyme already this year. So if people tell you how hard it is to get Lyme disease, don't be fooled.
Yeah, that is the whatever government.
Well, now they're saying that other ticks also carry.
They are. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
all the big ticks.
Yeah, so the let's see, on this sheet we've just got the deer tick and we've got the Lone Star tick. So I don't know, I haven't seen a Lone Star tick yet. The dog tick is good to know. They're usually you can, well, when they blow up with blood, they're really big. Yeah, woodchuck ticks can, yeah, they can carry this whole other thing. So anyway, let me see. I want to keep going here. Okay, so I cannot overemphasize the importance of tick checks. When I go outside even, okay, I wore these pants because these are one of the sets of pants. I've gone to Salvation Army and I shop for light, solid colored clothing. You want to wear clothing outside that is, here's my shirt, one of my outdoor shirts. I have, you know, they're solid, they're light. A deer tick shows up. That is the only color I want to wear. Now, I have worn darker clothes when it's colder that I'm taking a risk for, like my black fleece pants, but these days, you know, now it's much warmer. So I'll try to wear something light on top. My hat is sort of like this color, and I personally I don't have any proof, but I almost never wear anything outside, except maybe on the sidewalks, I wear my pseudo rubber boots. They're, you know, I can walk in mud and everything. Because, and I don't know if this is true, but they're not really against my body so much, and they're a whole different thing than shoe material. And so my theory is that maybe the ticks aren't as attracted to the boot, but they're going to have to crawl. Once they crawl up the boot, they're going to get right on my pants. I don't have to worry about tucking my socks in because the boot just goes right up. So I wear boots a lot, and very not stylish, but. What else is new?
There's 2 things about the boots too, and that's only wear my rain boots out, and but they're slippery, and actually they
That's
say
what
they
I was
make
wondering.
they make
grab them,
the dog's feet slippery too. They suggest making the dog's feet slippery so that the ticks slip off. And also, they're attracted to heat, and I think it's carbon
CO2.
dioxide, right? So you wouldn't get any heat or carbon dioxide from the rubber boots.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Is it would just, but I have no proof, and I know sometimes I get them. I notice I've gotten them right after I brush through some vegetation, and then I'll see it on my pants, or, you know, what were you?
Would a slippery material like nylon or vinyl raincoat be a disincentive to the ticks
Maybe.
being able to fly?
Well, they slippery, anything slippery, they say they really want to get on you. So they will get on your clothes, but also carbon dioxide is going to come through your clothes, and heat is going to come through your clothes, but less likely through the rain boots.
And then fabric, you can grip, you know, the little feet can grip onto
Yeah.
fabric. It's very different than like a rubbery sort of.
I read that they don't like lime, or not lime, I mean lavender. They don't like lavender.
That's one of the, we'll get into, that's one of the essential oils that's been studied that's supposed to, not just repel them, but help kills the eggs. So tick checks. I personally would not want to live alone. And luckily, I have a friend who lives in my house. Because there are parts of me I cannot see. I can't twist myself up enough with a mirror. And the nymphs can be so tiny. What happens if they're in my hair? I can't feel them a lot of the time. Okay? But when I'm out, I periodically, I just try to remember to keep looking just to see. And that's often when I find like a tick crawling on my pants. So it's it's like becoming a new consciousness of like walking around and then, looking and going home. And I don't get a tick check like right after I come back, but it's definitely before bed. Don't want to have a tick on you during the night because that's a lot of hours. And you have, again, the mainstream thing is, it takes 36 hours, or it takes 24 hours, or maybe it takes 12 or 48 hours to get transmitted. According to Lyme literate folk, they say, it seems like it might even take a few hours in some cases. So the numbers, don't rely on the numbers, get a tick out as soon as possible.
Okay. So part one of Lyme disease prevention and care. We'll be back in next week probably, and the following week. I think we'll probably do this in 3 episodes for this topic. Very important. The handouts that were mentioned by Becca, there are several of them. You can go to our website, walkinpark.com, take a look at that again. And you can find it. You search for this episode. You can look under Lyme disease under the categories, and there will be her handouts there. You can download them as PDFs. So we'll be back next week with more about that. I'm just going to read the description from the Centers for Disease Control of what Lyme disease is. Lyme disease is caused by the bacterium Borrelia burgdorferi. Is transmitted to humans through the bite of infected black-legged ticks. Typical symptoms include fever, headache, fatigue, and a characteristic skin rash called erythema migrans. If left untreated, infection can spread to joints, the heart, and the nervous system, and can become a chronic disease and can be quite serious. So I hope you'll join us next week. I hope you'll go to the website and learn a little bit more about this. And thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you again soon.